All right, clap it up, everybody. Clap it up. Woo! That's how Pastor Harris told me to open up, but I wanted to say, praise the Lord, everybody. This is his sacred desk, so I wanted to always say that. Just in the effort to have some housekeeping things taken care of, if everyone can take out your cell phones and go to Facebook and make sure that you are following Bright Star Community Outreach, like and share our page. We are on live right now. Also, those that are present with us, if you can be mindful not to walk in the center because we are live tonight, so thank you. So good evening, everyone. I'm Sylvia Osborne, the Resource Development Director. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to Bright Star. So this is our second Greater Bronzeville Community Award Ceremony, and we're so excited to have you with us tonight to share in person as well as with our virtual family and friends online. In 2019, BSCO was awarded $1 million in grant funding through through MacArthur Foundation. With our mission being empowering residents to share in the responsibility of building community, we were determined to share the resources with our Greater Bronzeville collaborative partners. You can clap. This is a special occasion for two reasons. This is our second day of spring with 70-degree weather. Whoop, whoop. But also, and most importantly, we are celebrating 8 fantastic organizations who truly embody the essence of serving youth. Collaboration is key, and Bright Star Community Outreach is pouring $416,000 into these 8 Okay. I'm not used to the clapping in between y'all, so I apologize. I'll slow down. But collaboration is key, and Bright Star is pouring $416,000 into these 8 nonprofits that have a proven track record of recording or a track record of delivering substantial trauma-informed care and mentorship to youth in Greater Bronzeville schools and community. Tonight, you will hear from key speakers that will help tell the full story. I hope you have enjoyed your meal and ready to learn more about how, why, and who we are giving $416,000 away to. Again, welcome to Bright Star and enjoy the ceremony.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nicole Carter. I am Chief of Staff here at Bright Star. I'm so excited to be here with you all, and I'm excited to share a little bit about our process, the Community Action Plan. So the Community Action Plan is what we call the BSCO Bible. It talks about what we plan to do and how we plan to do it. But we were really intentional on how we gathered the information. Through a process called CTC, which is Communities That Care, through an iterative process of 5 steps, we engage community residents, we engage stakeholders, we engage the community, and especially our youth to find out what was needed. We don't think it's enough just to answer questions unless they're being asked. And so we made sure we understood what our residents needed. Through that process, we built up a collaborative of about 70 stakeholders. They're anywhere from workforce development partners to education partners to trauma-informed partners and all of our schools within our Greater Bronzeville footprint. They come together at different times to lift up different issues and to make sure that we're sitting at action tables that lead to results. We don't want to have more conversations unless it makes a difference. And so the Community Action Plan is what we're using as our guidepost, but we always go back to make sure that we're doing the right thing. So we've taken several surveys of our young people to find out what is it that they needed. In 2015 and in 2018, we heard from them, and one of the most alarming things that we found out is in 2015, 35% of our young people showed clinical signs of depression. In 2018, 50% of our young people showed clinical signs of depression. We weren't able to create those surveys in 2020 because of COVID, but can you imagine what that landscape looks like? So based on that, we've created programs that we've taken both into the school and into the community to address those concerns. The Community Action Plan, like I said, is our path forward. You can find the information to it on our website. We update it often. We're going to be going through a process of updating it even more because after COVID, we realized that there are more areas that we have to address within the community. So birthed from the Community Action Plan was, again, this action table that we had. So shortly before 2019, Pastor Harris met with MacArthur, and they asked him, Pastor Harris, what keeps you up at night? He said, I have these people who are willing to do great work, but I have nothing to offer them. And so through, of course, the RFP process and submitting a grant, we were granted the $1 million that Sylvia talked about. And what was wonderful about that is there were several organizations. There were several organizations that were offered, that were also given $1 million. However, Pastor Harris decided that we were going to give out $624,000 of that. So that's over half. Everybody thought he was crazy, but he's not. He has a big heart. And really, what he understands more than anything is that we're better together. Bright Star is only as powerful as Bright Star is if our community partners are strong as well. So one of the things that we're really intentional about is we understand that the $624,000 is finite. But if we offer tools, if we allow capacity building, if we do things that strengthen the organization, that $624,000 multiplies to bring more programs and more success to our community as a whole. So we are here again to celebrate the 8 organizations that are going to be the beneficiaries of this last round of funding for now, because we are confident that as we continue to get more resources, we will always share more resources. I am so grateful that you are here, and I'm excited to bring up Dr. Allison Arwati. So we know Dr. Arwati because we saw her every day at the height of COVID. She brought us all the information that we needed. She gave us the tools so that we could follow the science, and we are so appreciative. If we were impacted by it, we can't imagine how much you were impacted by it. And so we're grateful to you and your service. And so what we're excited about today is she's going to talk about the importance of mental health and trauma. Dr. Arwati.
Great. Thank you so much. So I've just been having a lovely time meeting folks in person, learning more about what these amazing organizations do. Obviously, we've long looked to Bright Star as a leader, a convener, and an organization that really lifts up and centers community voices, community needs. And at the Chicago Department of Public Health, you know, I'm kind of tired about talking about COVID. I'm just going to be honest. And some of you don't know, but I actually became the commissioner at CDPH officially 4 days before we activated for COVID. Yeah, that's when City Council finally approved me. But in the half a year or so where I was in the acting role, and I'd been at CDPH for about 5 years before that, really mental health, but how mental health, substance use disorders, violence prevention link together, how we try to take a strength-based approach, and how we support the work that is already happening and needs to grow in communities has been one of the goals. And Pastor Harris actually was one of the first people that I got to know well in terms of advocating a shift at the health department from, some of you know, we still have some clinics that we operate, and we could go into the whole history of that funding. But under Mayor Lightfoot, we've actually seen a tripling of funding at the city level for mental health. Yeah, it's exciting. It's still not enough. I want to be really honest about that, and particularly in a post-COVID or mid-COVID state here, the ways in which this pandemic has landed not just on our physical health and on our ability to, convene as neighbors, but on our mental health is something we are going to be measuring and seeing the impact of probably for decades, I think. And so we created, in partnership and really with a number of partners around the city, repurposing a lot of that funding to create what we called trauma-informed centers of care. And trauma-informed centers of care have a number of things in common. They serve anybody, regardless of insurance status, income, immigration status. They commit to principles of recognizing that people are coming with a range of experiences, and you've got to recognize and create a space that honors good things and not so good things that people are bringing along with them, and think therapeutically together about how to work on it. We started in about 24 or so of these centers around the city, and it's been so successful that with the American Rescue Plan funding, some of this federal funding that's come from the government post-COVID, we're expanding this trauma-informed centers of care citywide. Because I want a no wrong door approach when people have mental health needs. And all of you who are doing that work every day on the ground, talking to people, building trust with young folks, hearing what they need, how we can start talking about that. You and your teams are the ones doing that incredible work. I can't, I'm so impressed with Bright Star for recognizing that it's about doing the work, but it's also about pulling that work together. And seeing that happen in this focused way in Bronzeville is just so inspiring to me. And I hope that we see these kinds of convenings bringing together what have we learned, how do we hold to our values, and talk about something that is going to be good coming out of COVID. Because it's been terrible, it's not over yet, but there is a lot of good. And it is exactly this kind of work, this kind of centering, reaching out, getting real resources out, thinking about how to sustain them, and putting it around being trauma-informed, which doesn't mean being negative, but it means being honest about all the ways in which we as a city have so far to go to meet folks' needs. So I just wanted to say it's lovely to be here in person. Congrats to all of you, and really, really look forward to seeing how this work continues to grow. And I will come and talk about anything that is not COVID anytime you like. Thank you.
Hello, hello. Hey, my name is Jamila Tremio, founder and CEO of Ladies of Virtue. And I know, right? Hey. I am so happy to be here. We are a strong partner, committed partner to Bright Star Community Outreach and have been for over 5 years now. And so it's just so amazing to be able to share some of the work that we've done because of the Parent Engagement Grant that we received back in 2020 and then what we're going to do now. But first I want to share a little bit about Ladies of Virtue. So research shows that Black girls are viewed as needing less nurturing and less support and less comfort than their peers. And we know that that perception is not reality. And so that's why Ladies of Virtue is standing in the gap, providing mentoring, providing those leadership skills, developing our girls every step of the way. And one unique aspect of our program is that we have incorporated mental health support in every single program that we offer. And then after our girls graduate from high school, we then continue to mentor and support them for 6 years in our Love for Life alumni program. So over 11 years, founded Ladies of Virtue in 2011. It's been 11 years and we've served over 2,000 girls and their families. And so thank you so much. And supporting families is of utmost importance to us. And that's why it was so, we were so just grateful to have won the community grant back in 2020, specifically for parent engagement in the Bronzeville community. What we did not know is that 3 months into the grants, the pandemic would hit. You just mentioned that. And of course, that was the most challenging time in the history of our organization. But one thing I love about just our staff and how passionate we are about serving girls, specifically Black girls in Chicago, is that this did not slow us down one bit. We ended up distributing a survey and found that 42% of our parents had lost their jobs or had their work hours reduced, and over 70% requested mental health support, just like what you mentioned. And so we decided, with the help of the grant that we received, we ended up scheduling monthly parents workshops. Those titles include stress relief during the pandemic, how to prepare your daughter for life after high school, preventing and recovering from toxic parenting, and so forth. And some of the other things that we did to kind of keep the fun and creativity was we had virtual mother and daughter cooking classes. We also had virtual movie nights. I mean, we came up with virtual everything during this time, right? And so one thing that we found was that 100% of our parents said that their knowledge of mental health grew, as well as 100% of our parents stated that they were able to communicate more effectively with their child because of the services that we provided. Oh, and one other thing that we found was that a lot of our girls were isolating themselves like in their rooms and not engaging with their parents in their households. So we also, with the help of this grant, were able to distribute activity kits, but they had to select something from Amazon that they had to engage with siblings and parent mothers and daughters and grandparents in the house. And so things like puzzles and slime kits and things of that sort. And that truly helped build the relationship within the home during this most tragic time in their life. So moving forward, we're so excited to be another year we're back, right? And working with Cambridge Classical Academy, we've been working with them for over two or 3 years now at this point, and we're looking to expand mental health services. So over the past year, one thing that we've been able to do that we weren't able to do before is to provide our girls with the support that they need from a mental health standpoint. So all of our girls used to have at least one workshop in our mentoring sessions. Now they get at least 3 workshops for mental health. But the great thing now is that they are able to participate in small group counseling sessions with 3 to 5 girls up to 12 weeks and one-on-one counseling. The small groups are really important because at first they didn't want to just go straight to the one-on-one. They were like, I'm not talking to that, I don't know her. So the small group allowed them to participate for 12 weeks, see that, okay, the therapist is kind of cool. And then now they're scheduling those one-on-ones for up to 12 weeks, free of charge for any participant that's part of our program. So thank you, Bright Star Community Outreach. Thank you, Pastor Chris Harris. Love you guys dearly. Here's to a future where Black girls feel respected, loved, and supported.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Marion Malcolm. They are clapping for me because I recently made this accomplishment with all of their support, so thank you. I come to you today as a faculty member at Loyola University School of Social Work, but also as a native Chicagoan and a Bronzeville resident and parent. I also had the pleasure of serving as a judge to select these wonderful organizations. And so I want to tell you a little bit about what that process was like for me. As a native Chicagoan, again, I know the narrative that is being told about our community, about our city, and so to be able, and I know the impact that that narrative is having on our residents, on their well-being. And so tonight, and this is really an example of how what is happening now with Bright Star is really changing that narrative in 2 really important ways. One, there is work being done. There are positive organizations, people, and impactful work being done in our city. The other way that this event really changes that narrative is that community organizations can work together. I think there's also a perception, right, that people compete, that people can't work together, or that they have these various challenges, especially in this context of COVID. But what we know is that that is actually not true. Under the leadership of Pastor Harris, we've seen how Bright Star, they get resources and they give. He keeps his hand open to giving up to other organizations. And as a judge, I know that this is not Pastor Harris and the team kind of picking who they like to give to. It is a really fair and thoughtful, transparent process that we were a part of. So I really want to be explicit about that myself and the judges selected those people who won. And you might notice, as Lady of Virtue already told us, there are some recipients that also received funding in the last round. Again, that's because she's doing amazing work consistently. So it's really important that we keep that in mind. I'll say really briefly, recently I was in New Orleans and I met a guy, and this was after a weekend of national news about Chicago and all the violence, and he was like, what are y'all doing in Chicago? Like, how are y'all letting that happen? And I was so happy to be able to share a different story, right? To be able to describe the really impactful work of our organizations, of our city. And again, I can't stress enough the importance of us really shifting that narrative. So thank you all for really allowing me to be a part of this process. Again, it was a very thoughtful, transparent process, and we were really sensitive in thinking about the ways in which these organizations had to face various challenges in the context of COVID. So even in selecting these organizations, we really thought hard about that, and they persevered, and that deserves to be awarded. So I'm so happy to be a part of this. Thank you all.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. All right, my name is Akila McCord, and I am the Chief Program Officer here for Bright Star Community Outreach. Thank you. And as I am approaching my 5th year of service here, one thing has been consistently undeniable, and that is the impact that quality evidence-based programming has on youth within our community. We are excited about what we've already accomplished as an organization. From programs like Check and Connect, our in-school program specifically designed to increase graduation rates by way of monitoring and improving truancy, academics, and behavior in students' grades 7 through 12. Our Great Families program, which stands for Guiding Responsibility and Expectations in Adolescents Today and Tomorrow. This family strengths building program caters to 6th grade families by creating a peer-led learning environment and a safe space, if you will, that allows parents and students to stumble upon best practices while building specific tools that are needed to improve effective communication and prepare youth for high school and beyond. Our caring and resiliency environment rooms that we candidly call care rooms. They're housed on campuses at our partnering schools, delivering trauma-informed care programming to the entire school community. We are even more excited about what we are currently doing as the chosen provider of the Choose to Change model, which is a 6-month intervention that combines cognitive behavioral therapy and intensive wraparound services, professional mentoring services as well. We are currently in the process of delivering these services as we speak at Phillips High School. It is through our partnerships and collaborations with standout service providers like the ones you see behind me, those individuals here in this room, that we are able to continue to make the impact. I am confident that as we stand here today, what we call mid-COVID. I was hoping it would be post-COVID, but clearly we are mid-COVID. I am happy to announce that we are in a special place, a unique position to build upon the foundation that was laid pre-pandemic. And through connections right here in this room, we are able to realize a greater impact than we could have ever imagined. I have the honor of introducing a servant leader, Deputy Chief Mason, who has been with CPS for 24 years, 13 of which, yes, please. 13 of which she served as a principal. Today, she is in the process of finishing out her first year in this role as Deputy Chief of Network 9. Clap it up for her. Clap it up for that. Yes, yes, yes. Now, Deputy Mason is extremely passionate about the work and creating opportunities for all students and all youth. So without further ado, Deputy Chief Mason.
Thank you so much for that. I don't know if I need a mic, but we'll make it do. I have that teacher voice. First of all, great day. Great day and a wonderful evening. I am so happy to stand before you as the proud Deputy Chief of Network 9 Elementary Schools. Absolutely. And I bring greetings from my proud chief, Tiffany Sanders, of our network. And I am just so proud to be a part of this because this is phenomenal. What makes this phenomenal is schools, as she said, because I served in the capacity of principal for 13 years, it's one thing to have partnerships, but it's another thing to have effective partnerships. That is all of its worth. It's so important for us to understand as we think about COVID, we say COVID just exposed trauma. It was the catalyst that exposed the trauma that the principals and school leaders have been trying to figure out for decades. It exposed that social emotional learning that rose up in that classroom where teachers did not know what to do and principals had no clue. Trauma was exposed. And I'm so proud and so happy to hear the vetting process and bringing together these partnerships and collaborating to really see the true needs that are in our schools. It matters. It matters. It matters. Yeah, it takes a village to raise a child. We say that, but do we believe it? Because it's those opportunities that's outside the classroom that could come inside the classroom and make the classroom a global society. It's those opportunities that afford for our students so they can begin to get the healing, get the mentorship, and get everything that they deserve to be effective, to be successful, and to continue to be the catalyst in their communities and transform communities. So I'm so grateful and I'm so happy, and I want to give a shout out to Pastor Harris for this great work, because it matters. We need more people thinking about our schools and our kids because it's all of us. Our children impacts all of us. And so it's so important that we begin to put our imprint back where it's supposed to be in the lives of changing our students from the ground, which is that school that will transform the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Mason. I now have the honor of presenting Deputy Chief Hester. Now, Deputy Hester has over 19 years experience serving with Chicago Public Schools. Yes. 11 of those years he spent at Julian High School, 7 of which the principal of Julian High School. Now, when I say this man is new to his role, I really do mean new to his role. He is 3 weeks in. And that is an amazing, amazing accomplishment. So congratulations. And without further ado, I introduce Deputy Chief Hester.
Thank you for that beautiful welcome. My name is Myron Hester. I'm the Deputy Chief of Network 17 for high schools. I'm proud to be here and excited, and thank you, Pastor Harris, for the invitation. On behalf of Chief Smith, I want to just say, let's keep up this good work. This is a beautiful thing, and every partner in here deserves a round of applause. Community partners, the way I looked at it as a principal, was like my closer, right? That bullpen that come out, and that closer is very important because they can come in a variety of ways. They can come in to close, to win the game. They can come in where your pitcher is struggling, to relieve them, to get out the inning. Or they can just come in and just carry the rest of the day out because you use all your pitchers. The important part is they're needed and they're vital. Community partners in schools are vital. And I say that as an analogy is because sometimes principals and educators, we do get frustrated. And we do sometimes get, looking for opportunities and hope. And community partners, when you come to our schools, you bring that hope, you bring that tenacity. You help us close that achievement gap. You help us close the gap between the family and the school. You help us close the gap with a student dealing with trauma. You help us close the gap of graduating kids and send them off to college and career opportunities. And that's something we could not do without you. And I want to let you know that as an educator, it is vital having these resources. I believe I worked with majority of some of these partners in my schools, from youth guidance, BAM and WOW, working with our students. That was an important resource that helped save a lot of kids. And the one thing that I hope people realize is that we're in the business of saving lives. And I hope y'all hear that. We're in the business of saving lives. Okay? And we see the trauma in the city of Chicago. We see the trauma across the United States, in the world. And the more resources we can align together and work together, we can change the narrative here in Chicago. Regardless of lack of investments, we can bring more investments, which is what Pastor Harris is doing here. Going out, getting the resources, getting the funding, and then sharing it. This is a beautiful concept that I hope we can continue across our city. And I know when everybody's working together, when community partners are working together, at the end, the students are going to win. they're going to win. And that's all that matters to educators, to me, is because if we don't take care of our youth, we're going to be in bad shape as we get old, right? We're going to need people to make good, sound decisions when they become in political office, right? We're going to need doctors to take care of us to, prescribe the right prescription that we can take when we get home. So it's vital for us to come together, work together, whatever we can do to save our students because they deserve it. They deserve it. And the one thing I want every community partner to also keep in mind, and it's one of the things I always see, is that we forget about those top kids. Don't forget about them. Sometimes we set criteria and we have all the resources going to one student population. And we need to have it open to everybody that needs it. So when you're establishing that criteria, it's okay if they have a 4.0, right? Because they just carry trauma differently. Doesn't mean they haven't experienced it. It's just they carried it differently. They've reached a maturity level to carry on because they're focused, because they know when they get the education, they're going to be successful. Deputy Mason stirred me up when she got up here. Pastor Mason over there. But I just hope y'all keep that open-minded when you're having your criteria, when you're meeting with students. Let's not isolate anybody. Let's make sure all the resources go to anybody that need it. I'm talking about our selected Roman high schools, our neighborhood high schools, our magnet high schools, our charter schools, our Catholic schools. It's about turning the city around so we can have a safe place and enjoy life together. Thank you, everyone.
I was thinking as I come up here that I often joke about not ever wanting to follow Pastor Harris or one of my colleagues, Dr. Franklin Cozy Gay. But I think what I've just been reminded is that I don't want to follow nobody in this room. This room is, but that's because this room is leaderful, right? This room is full of dynamic people, so it's an honor for me, for real, to be up here. For those of you who don't know, my name is Miles Francis. I'm the project director at the Chicago Center for the Youth Violence Prevention. Yeah. And so what we do at the Center for Youth Violence Prevention is we take a strengths-based approach to the root causes of violence, right? That means understanding that violence isn't evenly distributed in our communities, right? It exists in the communities that have been underserved, that have been neglected. In Bronzeville, we're talking about communities that have experienced the largest ever closure of public housing, the largest ever closure of public schools, right? And so what that translates into is the food insecurity, the underemployment, the housing insecurity that we see, right? So I'm honored to be here as a small part of the Center for Youth Violence Prevention that was tapped by Pastor Chris Harris to work on and address some of these issues, right? In the midst of addressing violence with other community partners like Northwestern, Pastor Harris realized that there's another institution, our institution, the Center of the University of Chicago, that had an obligation to help and uplift the communities that are within its footprint. So he tapped us and reached out to us. And from that collaboration, we were funded by the Centers for Disease Control to implement the Communities That Care program, which is a model of around collective impact, which means involving all the stakeholders in this room, which is a community-led model, right? Pastor Harris is the co-primary investigator on this research. And I gotta pause there because it's important that we acknowledge that this work is community-led, right? Something everybody did such a great job of teeing me up, right? The deputy chiefs talk about effective partnerships, and that's something I'm gonna try and make a connection to. What our other deputy chief talked about is saving lives, right? But something I haven't heard yet, and I'm happy to be able to say, it's actually two things, right, that I got from PCH. One is that nothing can happen about us without us. And the second one is that dollars follow data, and I have some really exciting data to show you. Right, so this work is community-led. A big tangible piece that's what's come out of that partnership between the University of Chicago and Bright Star is the community action plan that the lovely Nicole alluded to earlier, right? So there it is. That community action plan is available on Bright Star's website. It's available on the Center for Youth Violence Prevention's website. I will give it to you if you need it. You know what I'm saying? It is available to you. I encourage you all to check it out and look into it. If we got the next slide, just a breakdown of a little bit of what that involves. Right, so the different layers and elements we address through the community action plan: violence prevention, mental health care and trauma, education, which I know some of the people in this room are deeply, deeply in touch with through the Greater Bronzeville Community Action Council, workforce development, which I know that some people in this room are deeply in touch with through the Greater Bronzeville Neighborhood Network. And these are all elements of this Communities That Care system that we've come together to and had some incredible evidence and data that I'm about to show you. So can we move to the final slide? So as somebody that spends a lot of time going through numbers, right, there's nothing more exciting to me in my work over the last couple of years but this slide. The only thing that might be more exciting than this slide is helping folks realize what this means, right? So if you take a look at these 4 charts right here, top left is robberies, top right is aggravated assaults, bottom left is shootings, bottom right is homicides, right? The red and blue lines represent the trajectory of each of those different issues and community challenges. The black line here on the slide represents the introduction of the community action plan. If you notice, at the introduction, oh wow, somebody just got it. If you notice, if you look at that black line, we see a steep shift in that trajectory that is directly attributable to the work of the Community Action Plan and Bright Star Community Outreach. What that line represents in each of those respective graphs is a 14% drop in robberies, a 10% drop in aggravated assaults, and a 17% drop in shootings. Directly attributable to the work of Bright Star Community Outreach and the stakeholders at the table, right? So the good news doesn't stop there. These are the numbers for the year leading up to 2020. As many of us in this room are aware that as of 2020, the entire city experienced a spike in violence. What our preliminary findings show is that Bright Star and the work that we've done, all of us, tempered that spike in Bronzeville. Which means that even when things went left, when things went bad, we didn't go as bad because of the infrastructure and the collaboration in place. How did we do this? We did this by increasing the capacity of community-based, community-led initiatives, by addressing the root causes of violence and understanding all of the things that I mentioned at the beginning that underpin the reasons why we're here and why we have to do this work, and strengthening and supporting community coalitions. That means our role as an institution has been to support Bright Star and the partners by building capacity not only of these individual organizations that you all represent, but building the strength of connecting these organizations, right? Our being here is evidence of Bright Star having elevated from a competitor to a convener in this work. So what needs to happen is we need to continue to collaborate, continue to lock in, continue to push evidence-based programs, right? I'm gonna say it again, dollars follow data. So let's continue to build the data, let's continue to lock in and continue to support each other, and I'll continue to bring y'all some good news.
Everyone, good evening. My name is Vivian Harper. I am the Director of Community Strategy and Development for Bright Star. Are you having a great time this evening? If so, do me a quick favor. Go to Facebook if you haven't done so already and follow our Facebook page. It's brightstarcommunityoutreach.com and share today's event. I am here to talk to you a little bit about how this whole process came together. So you can see that there are 5 organizations who received the grant award. And the way that that process worked is that Bright Star Community Outreach announced a request for proposal at the end of 2021. At that point, we were prepared to reallocate those MacArthur funds to organizations that focused on trauma-informed care and mentorship to students in the greater Bronzeville community. At which point, based on a rubric calculation through some external judges, Dr. Marion mentioned earlier, those organizations tabulated the results, and they determined that out of 20 organizations who applied for the funding, 8 of them were doing substantial work in trauma-informed care and mentorship. At which point, those organizations started doing the work in Bronzeville, and they'll continue to do the work in Bronzeville and work to positively transform the community. I want to do a special thank you to the judges. Dr. G from the United Way, she was one of our judges. Let's give her a hand. And Dr. Marian Malcolm, she was one of our judges from Loyola University. Let's give her a hand as well. And Carl Herlick from the Chicago Public Schools, he was one of our judges. And then Mandy Polinsky from Northwestern, one of our judges. And Kelly Flesh from Northwestern, one of our judges, and Kareem Pender from the Chicago Public Schools, one of our judges. So I'm really excited to have support. I want, at this point, to say the most exciting thing. Let's get ready to turn over those checks and give out the funding. So our first organization that I'd like to call up here and receive your check is CHAMPS for $75,000. Congratulations, absolutely.
All right. Now, I'm not standing up here by myself, so Nicole, Sylvia. Thank you, Vivian. Thank you very much. Thank you. Come on.
Oh, okay.
It's your money. Come on. Come on up, Jim.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Can y'all move this, Christian, have them move this podium. Thank you, Pastor. Want to move that mic? Yeah, just grab it. Give her the microphone.
All right, y'all straight ahead a little bit. There we go. 3, 2, and...
Congratulations. And now we'll have you the guidance with a $53,000 check.
Where's Miles, Marion? Miles, Pastor Neil. Come on up, sir. You good?
Congratulations. And now we'll have alternatives with a $75,000 check.
Can our deputy chiefs come up with us? Come on. Congratulations.
Congratulations. And now we'll have Ladies of Virtue for a check for $33,502.
Mr. Barnett, come on up, man. out for that. Come on. I know that's right.
Congratulations. And now we'll have big brothers, big sisters for a check for $75,000.
CJ, make your way this way.
Congratulations. And now we'll have new community outreach for a check for $30,000.
Kathy.
Kathy. Kathy.
Dr. Arwati. Dr. Arwati.
Tester.
Kathy.
Tester.
Come on, Dr. Arwati, right in there. Get on in there with her. That's it. Stay with it. Come on, here we go.
Congratulations. And now we will have Chicago Youth Programs with a check for $54,000.
I guess I'm going nowhere.
That's right. It's the woman that let me do all this work. Come on.
Congratulations. And now last but not least, Spark with a check for $20,000.
Now I know we want to leave, but unless this guy get in this picture, we're going to stand here and wait. He is the hardest working young man, and all of our media website, everything you see. My son, Christian Hayes. There you go, sir. I want to live long, but if I die, carry the work on. Beautiful. Congratulations. Is that everything?
Yeah, now Spark.
Yeah.
Now we'll have, oh, goodness. Thank you. Thank you. We'll have the representative from Spark.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ebony Scott, and I'm the Executive Director of Spark Program Chicago. I just wanted to take a moment on behalf of all 8 grantees to thank Pastor Harris, to thank the entire Bright Start Community Outreach team for your incredible belief, trust, and investment in us. One of the things that I wanted to make sure everyone in this room and everyone watching at home really understands is that this type of initiative is not just making an impact on Bronzeville and the students who live here, but it's really changing the face and practice of philanthropy. As a Black woman who's been in nonprofit for 20 years and fundraising for most of that time, I cannot tell you how difficult it is to access a foundation like MacArthur. It's extremely difficult for us to get folks to believe in our home community grown strategies. It is incredibly difficult to get folks to understand that we truly do know what's best for our communities and our students, and that we ought to be looked upon in an asset-based way. And so the entire way in which Bright Start ran this process, I think, is a model for philanthropy across the country, and we need more examples like that every single day. You all have so much to be proud of. Additionally, I think what we have here is a national model for how communities can uplift themselves, how communities can leverage resources and do the work themselves if they are simply trusted in to know what's best for themselves. And we have an incredible leader in Pastor Harris, an incredible leader in everyone in this organization, and we ought to make sure that when we leave here, everyone knows about it, because it's much bigger than this $600,000 that they've passed through. They've taught MacArthur, which is one of the largest global foundations in the world, that you can get money directly to communities, and it doesn't have to be in this really complicated, arduous way. You can do it in a way where the people who are evaluating those programs are from the communities. I've had the opportunity to work with Kareem Pinder at the far south side CAC for years. And so if there's anyone who knows what it takes to do community-based interventions, it's someone like Kareem, right? Because he does this day in and day out, and he's not doing it from downtown. He's doing it every day in communities in the hood, and that's what we need to see more of. So I just want to say thank you. This is the first of what I hope will be a very long partnership, and God bless everyone here tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. So I get the honor of kind of like summarizing a lot of really main points from this evening. My name is Sonia Wang, and I'm the Executive Director of New Community Outreach. And I just want to say it is an honor to gather here tonight amongst these amazing community organizations and partners. It's encouraging and motivating to know that we are collectively committing to creating safe spaces for our young people, and that our commitment is really focused on trauma-informed mentoring. That is something we cannot take lightly, and we need to really recognize and appreciate and applaud and celebrate. As it's been said, I just want to reiterate, there is research that has shown that strong social supports and networks and a sense of connection and involvement in the community are strong protective factors against adverse effects that can be present in young people's lives on a daily basis. So to be supported in our work as a community organization, to continue empowering our youth, guiding their development and growth, and advocating for future dreams and opportunities cannot be taken for granted. So on behalf of the other grantees, I want to extend my deepest appreciations and gratitude to Pastor Harris and to Bright Star Community Outreach, to the greater Bronzeville schools, because work does not happen without collaboration and partnership with our community and schools, and to the MacArthur Foundation. Thank you for convening us, for your commitment to our community and youth, for the unwavering belief in the impact that community programs can have when partnering with schools and families to do this intentional work to build up the future leaders of our society. Thank you.
If you're excited about what you saw tonight, make some noise, everybody. Come on, y'all do better than that. Raise up some noise for all of these community-based organizations, all of these schools. I want to thank MacArthur Foundation. I want to thank all of the CPS folks who have partnered with us. I'm super grateful for all of our educators and our principals and our school administrators that are in the room. Would you raise your hand? If they raise their hand, I need you to make some noise for all of these folks that are doing all of the great work. Thank you for trusting us in your building. Thank you for trusting us with your staff and your students. And all of the folks in this room that make me look smart, it's really them. Would y'all go crazy for the Bright Star Community Outreach Team? Come on, y'all do better than that. These folks do the work, and I'm grateful. And our other team, the Community Action Council, Greater Bronzeville Community Action Council. I'll say it, it's the greatest CAC in the city of Chicago. And I'm super proud of the EC being here tonight. Last but not least, I want to thank God. I want to thank the Lord for this vision. I want to thank God. I want to thank the Lord for this vision. When I went to Israel in December of 2012, I found a place called Natal Trauma Counseling Center where those who live under the constant threat of violence and trauma, because of all of the violence there, they struggle with PTSD. And I said, while they're worried about missiles and sirens, we're counting body bags and toe tags every day in Chicago. At that time, 2012, it was 1,142 people murdered. Now, more than 7,000 people have been murdered in Chicago since January of 2012. And that doesn't include those who have been shot or wounded. And we asked the question, who did or does the trauma counseling for those families? Whether it be the victim's family or the perpetrator's family, in most cases, nobody. Because black and brown people, not exclusively, but specifically, since that's the population we get the privilege to serve, they don't really go to counseling for 4 reasons. They don't know, trust, or think they can afford counseling. And then number 4, the stigma. Nobody wants to be labeled crazy. But they still come and talk to people like me, the faith leader. So the Lord told me, I want you to identify, train, and certify faith and community leaders to provide trauma counseling based on that Israeli model. And I am grateful that when we brought this model back, when we brought this idea back, the first institution to back us after an introduction from then Mayor Rahm Emanuel was Northwestern Medicine. I need y'all to go crazy for them. Y'all got to do better than that. And my man, 50 grand. Dean Harrison, president and CEO, not only came in and believed in this vision, but he also said, we're not just going to write the check. And we said to them, we don't want to date, we want to be married. So he also gave human capital and gave us their expertise and legal support, building up the capacity of our organization. And one person that I'm super grateful for, he is not only one of our board members from the time that I founded this particular effort to this very, very day. Y'all got to give it up for Posh Charles. Man, I love you. I'm grateful for you. Thank you to you and Ann and all of the team that continues to partner. And then y'all got to clap it up for Brenda Battle and Leif Elsmo, another board member over there at the University of Chicago. And then even beyond that, the United Way came on. And that's where we were able to get CJ, who is someone who claimed to be retired. But fooling around with me, she got retired to the work. I figured out how to make her drop the R in retired. And she's now retired and being with us, continuing to build our work. CJ, we love you. We are grateful for you because you could have walked away and say, I'm done, but you're still here with us now, translating to my team what I'm thinking. And I want to tell you thank you. I'm really, really grateful. And listen to me good. We got more work to do. We've done a lot, but we got a lot more to do. And since we opened up that helpline, more than 50,000 people have been touched with this work. And that is something we ought to be clapping about. I want to thank the Trauma Helpline advocates. I want to thank all of the ambassadors. And the information is on the screen. If you know people that have suffered from any kind of trauma, as we told you, the children, 35% clinical levels of depression in 2015. 50%, 2018. And what do you think it is now after George Floyd? Social unrest, COVID-19. The virus, the vaccines, and the variants. Seeing their parents laid off and with violence spiking. And I'm going to say this, we shouldn't be asking educators to be trauma counselors, to be mentors, to be funders and parents. Come on, y'all ain't talking to me. We should be standing next to them and supporting them. And that's the reason that we do this work. So I cannot thank you all enough. Dr. Arwati, thank you for your partnership and your leadership in our city. And thank you for being the catalyst to twist some arms of government and say we need to pour more into mental health work. And I cannot thank you enough. I hope you get the longest vacation in the world
because you deserve it, because y'all make some noise. She helped keep all of us alive. So thank you for all that you do. To the Bright Star team, for the media, for the audio, for Lottie Dottie and everybody. Thank all of y'all. Listen, I don't know what y'all gonna do, but one of my favorite movies in the world was written and directed by a man, African-American man, and it's one of my favorite movies, and it only has 2 words to the movie. Get Out. Have a good night, everybody. Thank y'all so very much.